This is the first lesson of easily create cartoon caricatures for fun and profit. First thing we're going to do is have a look at our photo editing software, Photoshop Elements. Now I know that costs money, and it's not the only photo editing software available. There's the free, powerful and really excellent GIMP, but it is slightly more complicated to use. Truth is, Photoshop Elements is a very good price and extremely powerful. You'll notice that I'm not using the latest version in this lesson, but the truth is the basics are the same. What you learn in this course will give you some very powerful techniques to apply to all of your photo editing work. Remember, by the end of the course, you will know the one secret that will dramatically improve any portrait photos you take. You'll know where to find free cartoon pictures that you can legally use. You'll be familiar with Photoshop Elements. You'll understand how to use layers. Be able to cut, copy and paste different parts of a picture. And you'll be able to create a drawing from a photograph. You'll also be able to combine various elements to create just one picture. And you're going to be familiar with Photoshop element filters. I know, it does sound a lot. However, I promise it's not as difficult as it sounds, and you're going to enjoy learning it. Obviously, you first need to start running Photoshop Elements. Like all Adobe programs, it does take a little while to load. Anyway, you'll eventually get a small options window just like this pop up. You should choose Edit. Now, Organize is a very powerful tool, but I've got tens of thousands of pictures, and to be quite truthful, I just can't be bothered to spend the time letting Photoshop Elements sort through them all. This is the basic Photoshop Elements workspace. Your version may look slightly different, but there are 4 basic elements that you need to know about. Some of them may be actually floating around, and I always lock them in place. I know it looks complicated, however, you'll soon get used to it. Let's take a quick tour. On the upper left of the workspace, you'll find the Systems menu. In it are the typical things such as File, Edit and Help. Plus, Photoshop Element includes its own specific menus. We'll look at some of these later. Down on the left-hand side, we find the Workspace Tools menu. You'll use this a lot. It's got things such as Paint, Draw, Select, Enlarge. On the right of the workspace, we find the Layers and Filters panel. This is what helps make Photoshop Elements so powerful. Running along the bottom of the workspace, we find what Adobe calls the Project bin. This is where you'll see previews of the various pictures you're working on. The first thing you'll need to do is open a picture to work on. To do this, you'll need to click on File in the upper left menu panel, then click on Open. Here, I've opened up a number of pictures. Let's take a look at a few things. In the bottom panel, or Projects bin, you'll see a preview of all the pictures you've opened. You can change between pictures by double-clicking on any of the previews. Another way of changing between pictures is to single-click on that picture's tab in this panel above. In the Layers panel on the right, you will see that there is just one layer to this picture. The first thing you should always do is change this by adding a duplicate layer. You do that by right-clicking on the layer and choosing Duplicate, and then you confirm that that's what you want to do. You should now end up with 2 layers in the Layers panel, both the same picture. What you need to do now is to hide or make invisible the base layer. You do this by clicking on the little icon of an eye to the left of this layer. You can actually do this to any layer that you wish. Note how the icon to the left of the layer has become blank. That means it is now invisible. Just click on this icon to make the layer visible again. You now need to click on File again and save the picture with a new name. I usually put a number or a letter after the original name. In that way, I know which version I'm looking at. When it comes to saving your pictures, I would suggest you only think about two options. The first is the native Photoshop Elements file, PSD, a very powerful format that saves all your layers. The other format I suggest you use when you reach a natural break in your work is PNG. This is an excellent format, but it does not save layers. However, it does preserve any transparency that you use. You do need to save all of your work in the PSD file format. The trouble is, Windows Explorer can't display a preview of that sort of picture. However, if you save it in the PNG file format, Windows Explorer can show a preview of your picture. So at the end of a session of work, it is worthwhile saving in both formats, PSD and PNG. So, always remember, the first thing you do when you start working on any picture is to give it a duplicate layer of your original picture and make the original layer invisible. Next, immediately save your work under a different name as a PSD file. Then, at the end of each session, you should also save it as a PNG file. The truth is, always remember, save, save, and save again. In the next lesson, we'll be looking at how to choose the right picture.